The police chief was on his knees, sweat running down his forehead, as cameras flashed all around him, and the president's voice cut like a blade. Effective immediately, you are relieved of duty. Right behind that podium stood a woman, eyes sharp, exhausted, but unbroken. Her name was Mariah Carter, and 3 months earlier, she'd just been another hospital administrator in Crestwood, a mid-sized city with shiny glass towers downtown, and scarred neighborhoods still divided by race. Nobody could have guessed she would stand at the center of a national reckoning. But when cops put her 16-year-old daughter into a coma, the entire country had to listen. That Friday had started like any other. Mariah was in her office juggling budgets when her daughter Naya texted a quick update. Heading to the youth rally, Mom. Don't worry, Mrs. King is chaperoning. Naya was brilliant, perfect grades, already accepted early to Stanford. She was proud of her natural curls that day, styled exactly like her mother had worn them back when she was young and idealistic. Mariah kissed her forehead before leaving it for work, whispering, "Stay alert out there, baby." That warning would haunt her. At 6:30 p.m., Mariah's phone buzzed with a chilling text from Mrs. King. Police stormed the center. Kids separated by race. Call me. Mariah dialed her daughter immediately straight to voicemail. Minutes later, her colleague, Dr. Alvarez from the ER, called Mariah. "You need to come now. It's Naya." The world fell out from under her. When she arrived, heels echoing like gunshots on the hospital floor, she saw her child on a trauma bed, face swollen ribs, broken machines breathing for her. Dr. Alvarez leaned close, voice low. "They said she attacked an officer and fell. But these injuries, Mariah, this was a beating. The phone that Naya always carried to record events was missing. The story they told didn't fit. Nothing fit except the look of her daughter, broken but alive, and the rising fury inside her mother." By the time she staggered into the waiting room, the city's police spokesman was already on TV. His words dripped with lies. A 16-year-old female became violent with officers. She showed signs of substance use. Mariah's hands clenched into fists. Nia didn't drink, didn't smoke. She was the kid who stayed late at the lab building robots. But here they were painting her as a thug before the blood on her scalp was even dry. That night, as Naya underwent surgery, Mariah sat with a notebook writing names times inconsistencies. She had once served as an intelligence analyst in the Navy, and those old instincts came back like muscle memory. She whispered to her unconscious daughter, "They picked the wrong child. They picked the wrong mother." The next days, blurred doctors whispering about brain swelling, specialists shaking their heads, bills stacking high. Internal Affairs filed her complaint in a drawer and shrugged. City Hall promised appropriate review, and when she pushed harder, the hospital director pulled her aside. "Mariah, you need to be careful. We have contracts with the city. Maybe step back." Translation, shut up or lose everything. But she wasn't alone. A young community organizer named Ed Malik introduced her to witnesses. One, a college student named Emily, had secretly recorded the whole thing. Officers shoving black teens to the ground. Naya raising her phone to film Officer Brad Miller, slamming it from her hands and swinging his baton as she screamed she couldn't breathe. The video ended with silence and the officers laughing. Mariah copied it immediately, vowing to keep it safe. Then came the retaliation. Her home broken into, computers gone. Threatening calls, "Drop it or your daughter won't be the only one hooked up to machines." Cops showed up to investigate, smirking. "Probably just a random burglary, ma'am." And yet the more they pushed, the harder she fought. She started sending encrypted copies of evidence to trusted friends, mapping connections between the police chief, city officials, and the local media mogul who ran smear pieces against her daughter. Her ex-husband Marcus flew in from Atlanta. At first he was furious. Why was she even there, Mariah? She should have been focused on college, not protests. But when she handed him the video, his face drained of color. He pressed a hand to his mouth, then whispered, "What do you need me to do?" For the first time, Mariah felt she had an ally again. They went to see Sophia Grant, a civil rights attorney with fire in her eyes. Sophia pulled out files, 7 other families all buried cases. "What makes your case different is, she said. "You know how to preserve evidence. You won't scare easy." Together, they began to build a case. A reporter named Andre joined them, sliding over years of research. He'd collected emails showing racial targeting, complaints dismissed teenagers beaten and forgotten. Detective James, one of the only black officers on the force, slipped her whispers. Miller bragged about teaching your girl a lesson. And Naya's phone, it's in his locker. As this coalition grew, the city erupted. Crowds gathered with Naya's photo chanting, "Who protects us from you police in riot gear?" pushed back hard, arresting kids, spraying crowds, feeding the fire. And then in the hospital one night, Chief Randall Wallace himself appeared in her daughter's room. Tall, rigid, two officers at his side. His words cut like ice. Such a tragedy when young people make poor choices. Some people don't know when to quit, Mrs. Carter. I'd hate to see anything else break in your life. Mariah kept her face calm, but her phone in her pocket was recording every word. The mask had slipped, and she had proof. Soon the story exploded nationally. Andre published an expose with Emily's raw video detective James files and the chief's recorded thread. News anchors played it on repeat. Hashtags trended. Celebrities posted #JusticeForNia. The police doubled down calling the footage, manipulated trotting Miller onto morning shows with crocodile tears. But their lies cracked faster than they could patch them. Then came the FBI raid seizing records, arresting officers. Miller was caught trying to flee with cash and a fake passport. The mayor claimed ignorance, but documents showed his signature on corrupt property transfers. The empire was crumbling. And just when Mariah's strength wavered after weeks without sleep, a miracle, Naya opened her eyes. Weak, confused, whispering, "Mom, what happened?" Doctors warned recovery would be slow, maybe incomplete. But she was awake. Her brilliance flickered, still alive. That alone gave her mother the fuel to keep going. As indictments rolled in, the community transformed. People who'd once looked away stood shoulder to shoulder. Veterans guarded Mariah's house. Neighbors formed human chains when threats rolled by. Local businesses donated security cameras, meals money. The silence had broken. Crestwood was awake. Finally, on national TV, the president himself addressed the nation. Beside him, Mariah and Nia sat in the East Room as he announced sweeping reform civilian oversight, the end of immunity for abusive officers, national use of force standards. And then in real time, cameras cut to Crestwood as federal agents escorted Chief Wallace out in handcuffs. An image burned into history. With the settlement money, Mariah built the Carter Justice Foundation, funding legal help for families like hers. Sophia was appointed to the federal bench. Marcus rebuilt his career around civil rights law. Emily and Malik grew their youth movement nationwide. And Naya, still walking with a limp, but fierce as ever, headed to MIT, declaring she'd study neuroscience to help others with brain injuries. "They tried to silence me," she told reporters. "But every time I speak, I prove they failed." The story didn't end there. An anonymous package landed on Mariah's doorstep, Wallace's private files implicating judges, prosecutors, politicians far beyond Crestwood. And soon after, the president asked Mariah to lead a national reform commission. She thought back to that night in the hospital, whispering to her daughter that they'd picked the wrong mother. Turns out she was right. So here's the question I'll leave you with. Do you believe one ordinary person, a mother, a father, a neighbor, can truly change a corrupt system stacked against them? Or was Mariah's victory just an exception in a country still struggling with power and prejudice? Comment below with what you think about justice, about reform, and about what you've seen in your own community. And if this story moved you, hit like, subscribe, and share it. Because change only happens when enough of us refuse to stay silent.